More than 1,700 migrants have died on U.S. soil while trying to enter this country illegally on Mayorkas' watch, people he encouraged to make the journey. Mayor Adams of New York recently stated that more than half of the hotel rooms in New York City are now filled with illegal aliens. Cities like Chicago are putting illegal aliens ahead of their own citizens, allocating millions of dollars to house and care for those arriving to their city, infuriating residents and neighbors like South Shore who won't get those resources. In May, Chicago Mayor Lightfoot stated, "We simply have no more shelters." Medicaid spending on emergency medical services for illegal aliens more than doubled in FY20 to FY21 from around $3 billion to more than $7 billion. This suffering and death falls squarely on the shoulders of the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, a man who has been derelict in his duty to protect America. Since his first day in office, Secretary Mayorkas has intentionally undermined America's immigration laws and ended meaningful border security enforcement, and in its place implemented an extreme agenda of open borders. The vast majority of those crossing our borders illegally are coming not because of COVID-19, climate change, or because CBP doesn't have enough funding. They're coming for economic reasons, and they're coming in record numbers because Mayorkas left the door open, unlocked. Those individuals typically possess no legitimate claim to asylum, and under prior administrations, both Democrat and Republican, most would have been quickly deported. The difference now, Mayorkas and his policies. Yet not once has he taken responsibility for this mess. The mountain of evidence this committee has gathered proves that Alejandro Mayorkas has been derelict in his duty as the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. Upon assuming office, he immediately went to work reversing and tearing down the effective border policies of the last two administrations, replacing them with an open borders policy of mass catch and release. He has also repeatedly violated laws passed by this Congress. To date, our investigation has uncovered nearly a dozen violations of statutes and court orders. Consider just a few examples. The evidence shows that Mayorkas has repeatedly violated the law that prohibits mass parole of aliens into the country. The statute makes clear parole is only to be granted on a case-by-case and temporary basis for an urgent humanitarian reason or significant public benefit. Instead, Mayorkas has done the opposite, directing and overseeing a release of hundreds of thousands of aliens via mass parole in just 2 years through various programs, including more recently his CBP One app. The evidence also shows Mayorkas has violated the clear language of the Immigration and Nationality Act, requiring illegal aliens to be detained while their claims are resolved. At his direction, millions of illegal aliens have been released into the country through a program called Alternatives to Detention, via other mass parole, or with a notice to appear in court. And DHS's own data shows that when illegal aliens are not detained at all or are only detained for a short time, then released into the interior, they are almost never removed. Mayorkas and his defenders like to claim that we simply don't have detention space for the historic number of illegal aliens being drawn to the border by his disastrous policies, which is the epitome of circular reasoning. You don't get to break the law in order to fix the consequences of your reckless decisions. The evidence further shows Mayorkas has also violated the laws regarding the deportation of illegal aliens. Illegally entering the United States is a criminal, deportable offense. Mayorkas has decided enforcing that law is just optional. Passed by Congress, but he can just make it optional. First, he has issued guidance making it harder for ICE to detain and deport the vast majority of illegal aliens in this country. As a result, deportations have plummeted, and the number of illegal aliens on ICE's non-detained docket has grown by more than 2 million people in just 2 years. It gets worse. Mayorkas has flagrantly violated the laws requiring him to detain illegal aliens. His own acting ICE director, Tay Johnson, told Congress in April that ICE had actually been releasing hundreds of illegal aliens into the country, into our communities. When I last checked, the United States was a nation of laws. We expect our leaders to follow the laws that Congress passes, and those who fail to do so should be exposed and face the consequences. The Constitution is clear. Congress writes the laws, and officers like Mr. Mayorkas are sworn to enforce them. No one is above the law, not even the Secretary of Homeland Security. His failure to uphold his oath and follow the law has been the driving force behind the disaster at the border. Mayorkas has consistently made statements to Congress and the American people that demonstrate either dishonesty or gross incompetence, perhaps even both. He said at least 19 separate times some variation of the border is secure, even telling members of this committee in 2021 that the border was no less secure than previous. He also claimed to have operational control of the border per the definition of the Secure Fence Act of 2006. Border Patrol Chief Raul Ortiz confirmed to this committee in March that DHS in fact did not have operational control of the border. Only after this did Mayorkas backtrack and tell the Senate later in March that no secretary has ever had such control per the definition. Mayorkas has claimed his policies are not responsible for the crisis, but they are. He claimed he was handed a dismantled system. He wasn't. He claimed that DHS is promptly expelling illegal aliens. They aren't. Our investigation has unearthed nearly 80 occasions on which Mayorkas has been outright dishonest or misleading, and other instances in which he has displayed unacceptable ignorance about the basic aspects of the ongoing crisis. Dereliction of duty is a serious matter. I spent 24 years in the Army. I know what it means. It means someone has either willfully or negligently failed to do their duty, or has done such a poor job that there is no reasonable excuse. When that individual is the cabinet secretary who swore an oath to defend the Constitution and the homeland, the charge is even more serious. Again, today marks the United States Army's 248th birthday. As a West Point graduate, as I said, I served 24 years. I know what dereliction of duty is when I see it, and as a commissioned officer, I was responsible for holding those guilty of it accountable. There is zero doubt in my mind that Secretary Mayorkas has been derelict of his duty. As the people's elected representatives, this committee has a duty to investigate Mayorkas and bring any wrongdoings to the American people. What we have found thus far is damning. To date, our investigation has discovered that he has violated the laws of the United States, abused the authority of his office, and betrayed the public trust through repeated dishonest and misleading statements to Congress and the American people, while also demonstrating gross incompetence. I cannot imagine why President Biden, who is charged with defending the American people as Commander-in-Chief, would continue to tolerate this. Our investigation will show the President why he should fire Mayorkas immediately, or own this failure himself. This isn't about politics or policy or disagreements. It's about law and order and the safety of the American people. It's about whether a cabinet secretary has followed the law, upheld his oath, and been faithful to the public trust. The American people want answers to this crisis. They deserve the truth. Unfortunately, Alejandro Mayorkas has been derelict in his duty as the United States Secretary of Homeland Security. The cartels are thriving, migrants are suffering, and Americans are dying. Their blood is on Secretary Mayorkas' hands. I hope every member of this committee works together to fix this disaster. I now recognize the ranking member, the gentleman from Mississippi, Mr. Thompson, for his opening.